Beyond Photo Locker. So what a photo locker is this fun little event that we're going to be doing periodically that is um, a series of puzzles, actually. So what it is we have some of our concept art. It's some of the backgrounds you've probably already seen if you've been in our Discord at all. But one of our concept art pages has been split into a puzzle, 40 pieces and a frame. There's actually three different frames. And inside this pack, you're going to get three pieces of the puzzle, and you have a chance to also get a frame. If you combine the entire thing, um, there will be prizes. The ultimate goal is for the computer to stop pinging me. Um, the ultimate goal is for users to be able to get an in-game decoration, right? So it's an in-game decoration, but there's going to be some raffles tied to it. There's going to be some ways for people to support the game without having to necessarily buy more founders tokens since they only need one to play. So anyways, it'll be a lot of fun. I'll make sure all the details are more clearly posted, but it should be a heck of a lot of fun for everybody. Let's see. Just in case anybody doesn't know anything about us, our first drop is on Tuesday, August 1st. So you'll get to know more about that later. And we are expecting to drop. This is fresh off the presses. We are expecting to drop our. Let me mute Discord so it stops pinging me. There we go. We are expected to drop our first build of the demo for Founders on August 1st. All right, so we will have players playing the game on August 1st, just Founders, but we will have people playing. So if you are interested in playing and testing the very first builds, that is going to happen next week. All right. Okay, so let's just go ahead and give people some information. You can click the video in the booth and kind of see some clips. So if you want to do that anytime, you're welcome to check that out. So what Starship Beyond is, it is an action RPG. So it is very active gameplay. You will run around with your little pixel character. Obviously, there's some art that you can see. Um, you run around with your pixel character with a variety of weapons and armor and abilities. You run around and you kill alien monsters, right? Bosses. There will also be collecting elements in game, where you break some rocks and get some ore. You harvest some plants. Things that not super unusual. You can immediately tell from the look of it that there's definitely some heavy inspiration from games like Legend of Zelda, especially if you look at some of the old classics like A Link to the Past. It's obviously different, but definitely has some very strong similarities. So if you very fondly look back on games like that, like I do, it might be interesting to you. If you're not much of a 2D game player, then this may or may not be the game for you. But hopefully you can still appreciate it anyways. All right, so NFT integration. We're not trying to make this a game where every single thing is an NFT and you need to collect, 50,000 different things. Right now, all that players need is the Founder's Badge. That's all you need in order to play. In fact, when the game launches, you will not need a Founder's Badge. That's just for getting early access. Okay, so if you want early access, you will need that Founder's Badge. But if you don't care about early access and you want to just wait for launch, the game will be free, right? So you don't have to worry about that. That should be um, convenient for everybody. Um, the game is expected to be cross-chain ultimately, though Wax is the backbone. So all the transactions in game and things like that will, of course, be run through Wax. Wax is obviously superior for games because we don't have transaction fees. Everybody loves that. If you're here, you already know all about that, I'm sure. So Wax is the backbone, but we do expect to be able to export NFTs to Ethereum, Polygon, Binance, and we'll see what others are easily available. In a few weeks, this first drop on Tuesday is going to be wax only, though it is done through Nifty Blocks, and so you can use credit card. That is a new innovation that Nifty Blocks has come out with in the last few weeks. So that's awesome. So you can purchase with credit card or with wax, but in the future we will have a full mint on Ethereum, Polygon, and wax simultaneously. This first drop is very, very limited. There are only going to be 200 of these founders badges sold. Only 200. We don't want to overload the testing, right? We want to get just a limited amount of people in first, and start seeing where it goes, and making sure that we don't all break the game, right? It is a demo. It is an alpha, so it is very, very possible that the game breaks. So we want to make sure that we test that. But testing so far has been good. We've been testing, we've been doing multiplayer. Everything's been looking really great. So I don't anticipate it breaking, but we also haven't had, up to 200 people trying to play all at once, which,
Nice. Hey, can I interrupt you quick? And
of
by the way,
course,
I would before this is over, we'd love to see some of the footage or whatever. I've seen a few sneak peeks on Twitter. It's awesome. But could you VIP me in your Twitch so we can post links? Maybe just hit a
yes.
slash VIP and then consumer break because I have a bounty block link here for everybody.
Let's see. Okay, did that work?
If it says I was VIP'd, then yeah. Does everybody in the Twitch see that link?
There we go. I see it.
All right, good deal. So go ahead and join that. We got a little over half hour, and you go ahead and continue.
Awesome. No, that's fine. Please interrupt me all you want. Um, yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy to be interrupted. I like to not talk so much. Um, all right. Okay. Let's go ahead. I've got uh, a ton of footage and a ton of information and things, but I'd like to actually start paying attention to chat because I haven't been doing that yet. I've just kind of been monologuing. So I'd like to go ahead and start actually looking at chat. Sorry, everybody. Um, and
Somebody had
okay,
asked if it's an active game or if it's a clicker.
no, not
I
a
think,
clicker, right? So
yeah,
so this is not a
yeah. Maybe
clicker.
show some of the footage if you have it.
Yeah, so you can look on the if you're in game, the easiest way for you to look is just click the video there. You can see. I can. I'm not great with Twitch, so hold on.
No
In
worries.
order to post the video, I can do it. I just it's gonna take me a second here. Come on here. I gotta get this back over here. Okay. Gotta figure out how exactly I'm doing this. I have a whole bunch of clips. They're in our Discord, obviously. So if you're already in our Discord, you can see them. If you're not in our Discord,
Well,
I should just mention for everybody, for Tuesday's drop, there is a whitelist. It is whitelist only, but anyone can join that whitelist just by getting in our Discord and connecting with Honeycomb. So I'm just throwing that out there for anybody who's interested at all.
you're screen sharing the booth right now. If
Oh,
all you
that's
have to do
true.
is pull what you're watching into that screen, that'll do it.
I'm gonna mute it. There we go. Hey, you're smarter than me. Thank you. There you go. So here's a couple little. So it is an app game, right? So it can be played on PC, Android, or iOS. Though right now we're having issues with iOS test flight and things like that. So iOS is still a work in progress. Android and PC are currently working. iOS will be working. It's not a problem of it being built. It's a problem of getting onto the App Store, getting onto test flight for everybody. Because with Android you can load an APK um, easily. It's pretty easy to load an APK, but with iOS, you can't really do that very easily. Um, at least if somebody is a better iOS developer than I am, you're welcome to give me some pointers on how to make that work slightly better, because our testing has been a little bit of struggle with iOS. But we will have PC and Android, and at full release, I'm sure we'll have iOS all the way figured out. Um, but yeah, there's going to be three different weapon styles. You can kind of see here we had an axe earlier. This is a ranged attack with a bow, and they are homing. The ranged attacks are homing. Um, and then here in a second, you will see, there we go. We have an energy rifle there that also is available. Those are the three basic abilities. There are secondary abilities that you can choose independently, which is a shield, a little like fire burst that you do around yourself, and then a little knockback chilling ability that slows enemies. Pretty straightforward. All right, cool. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do, but it would have been a good idea earlier. There we go. So that's just a couple of clips. Like I said, there's a lot more clips, and I was hoping to have a brand new clip from the new build that is going to be launched on Tuesday, but it is just barely not quite ready. I was hoping it was going to be ready this morning, but it's just not quite there yet. So it's supposed to be ready later today, so we can do our quality assurance tests over the weekend. Um, but anyways, that is what it is. So I see some questions in chat that I'd love to start answering here. So where does the ship come into the game because it doesn't look like a space game, right? So that's a fantastic question, and I'm really happy somebody asked it right away, so that I can explain. Okay, so that gives me perfect place to explain the setting. So the ship is where you live. All right, so it is not a situation like Titan AEE kind of a thing where you are aboard a colony ship that's transporting from your previous home. It isn't a situation where people are in stasis and they're going across the galaxy. No, the ship itself is extremely advanced and it is home. All right, so the ship is home. You live there. You've always lived there. You have no interest in anything but living there. However, it's been unknown amount of generations since the builders of the ship built it and sent it on its way, and so everyone who lives there is not so technologically advanced. All right, so everybody just knows how to do what the ship lets them do, but they don't exactly know how it works. The ship is more advanced than the people. It is a relatively well-known sci-fi trope, so I don't think it necessarily has to go into too much more explanation of that part. But the reason why the game looks more like a traditional fantasy RPG is two things. First is we're using a lot of placeholder assets right now. So, so first thing off the bat is some of these assets are placeholders, right? They're purchased assets that we were able to get into the game quickly rather than going full custom with everything from the get-go. So some things will change, right? So especially all of the humanoids will probably be removed. There will be more aliens, monsters, very different things, right? So the only humanoids are likely to be yourself and other players. So that'll change. However, the landscapes will probably, I mean, they're probably going to change slightly, but they will still be somewhat what they look like. And the reason for that is you, as the player, your job, your one job, right? The ship does everything. It automates food production. It's self-repairing. It navigates. It doesn't need a pilot. But what it doesn't do, because the builders were benevolent, they were not about to go and strip mine planets from orbit, because that would destroy or at least irreparably harm the planets that the ship is orbiting. So rather, the users, the citizens, okay, the player, you are tasked with going down to planets and collecting materials for the ship. And so that's why it looks a little more traditional fantasy-esque, because you go down, and once you're down on the planet, the planet is not advanced, right? You're going to be in barren landscapes with aliens. You will, occasionally you might find some ruins, you might find some different things, and maybe some planets will even build, advanced tech and aliens with ray guns and stuff like that. Because of course it makes sense that some people would be advanced, um, that you might encounter, but but you are not. You're not like you're not going to be wearing a sci-fi suit necessarily. You're not going to be using all sci-fi type gear. You're going to be using more traditional fantasy gear to get the job done. Um, but it is going to be really interesting, and it definitely has a big sci-fi element in that the game is. Um, so I already kind of talked about you're on your ship, right? It goes from planet to planet. Every month, so this is a really big part of the game. Every month, the ship will navigate itself to a new planet. All right, completely new planet. And when you go to a new planet, something entirely different will happen every single time. So that might be a very different landscape. It might be very different types of aliens. It might be something like, okay, this planet happens to have extremely high gravity. And so what that means is all the players, the aliens will move fast because they'll move at a normal speed because they are adapted to that environment, but the player is not. And so this high gravity might mean that you move slowly. Um, there might be something like toxic atmosphere, in which you're going to have some protections from the ship, so it won't kill you, but it might stop your ability to regenerate health easily, or maybe even slowly drain your health. So there will be unique effects that will be month wide, that are exclusive to that planet. And when we transport rather, to a new planet, we'll leave that old planet behind completely, and something new will happen every single month, something different. Okay, let me get back to chat. Hopefully that answered the question a little bit. Okay, so next question here. What can we expect in the first drop? So I'm not 100% sure if that question is related to the first NFT drop or the demo build that we're going to be dropping. So I'll answer both just because it's easy to do both. So the first drop is just for our founder badge. Um, so so our founder badges are basically they're the demo access pass. And they do come with a ton of other big things, season passes and some NFT drops for equipment, a number of other things. I won't get fully into that. It's in the white paper, and you can learn more about that later. But the only thing we're dropping is this founder's badge. They're normally $100. They're discounted for this early drop, so they're only 80, and you only need one, right? They're not tradable. Okay, so flippers, go ahead and don't bother. These are not tradable. We're not looking for flippers to come and sell it out and make you pay 50% more. We're only looking for players to come in. You only need one. You don't need more. However, if you want more, you will get rewarded for each on launch. Anytime there's airdrops and things for the founders, you will get airdropped for each badge you hold. So you can have more than one. And I already know a couple of different players that have expressed interest in more than one. So you can have more than one, um, but you only need one to play the demo. Okay, so I just want to make sure that that's very clear for everybody. And in this first demo, there isn't any NFT integration in the demo itself. You're just hard coded. You've got your 3 different weapon styles, 3 different abilities that you can choose independently. Each weapon has a basic attack style and an ability style that are unique to that weapon. And you can play through randomized levels, and it will be different every time. You can group up with. We're testing the limits right now. We've tested 2 and 3 players, and it works pretty well. In theory, we'd like to allow people to use up to 4 or 5 players at once, but we'll see how performance does, right? And things like collisions and things like that can be a little bit complicated. with more and more players. But you will have multiplayer in the demo. You will have 3 different weapons and 3 different abilities. You will have levels to work through, bosses to fight. And as we go with the demo, as we continue developing, there will be new versions, right? You can expect, I would say, you can anticipate at least a new build every month, if not more frequent than that, right? It'll just kind of depend on how development is going. Obviously, if something is really experimental and it's glitchy, we don't want to push that for everybody. But if a new feature comes out that we're ready for players to test, then we will absolutely go ahead and make it available to everybody who has demo access. So there's already a lot to do. I mean, I've been able to play the game for hours and hours. Granted, I'm a little bit biased, and also I love I love this kind of game. So that it may not be true for everyone, but I really enjoy it already. But it's looking really good. This next build is we're working on our boss levels, and this next build is supposed to have a pretty dynamic maze-like randomized boss level, which is looking really, really fun. But I haven't had a chance to test it yet. Otherwise, I would love to share some footage. I was really hoping that I could, but it's just not quite finished. Okay, so I saw another question that I wanted to answer. Let me scroll back up here. Okay, will choices matter in terms of shaping the long-term narrative of the game? Another fantastic question that I'm super excited somebody asked. Okay, so this game does actually feature a lot of social elements. So the answer is yes. Um, a couple of different things. The main one being that when the ship is about to go to a new planet. So I'm currently thinking that this is going to be maybe a week or 2 weeks before before the end of that planet, before the end of the month. Um, the ship will open up a navigation window where the ship essentially determines, okay, there are 3 viable planets that the ship can jump to next, and which of the 3 do you want to go to? So I already mentioned the ship doesn't need help piloting, but the ship does take into account the needs of the citizens, right? So 3 planets might pop up, and it is up to the players to decide what planet they want to go to. So there will be voting in game. You can just simply vote for, okay, like I like this planet, it looks like it, okay, this planet has 25% more ore loot, and I've been crafting stuff and I need more ore, so I want to make sure we go to a planet with more ore. But another person is a speedrun guy, and the another planet, it doesn't have more loot necessarily, but it has a low gravity mod, which means all players move 20% faster. And so this player is like, oh, I'm really interested in moving fast. I love to move fast in games like this. And so um, you have a situation where in the Discord, you might find, and other social circles, right? You might find people advocating for the planet of their choice, right? So I really want to go to this, and this is my reasons. And you can organically convince other players, where you want to go, convince them to vote for the same planet. Um, the other element of this is there are, of course, NPCs aboard the ship, non-player citizens, and these non-player citizens they have votes too, and so they have a randomized vote that will go between the 3 options, and it's going to be relatively balanced randomized vote, so it's not going to sway the vote super heavily one way or another. However, um, players who have a bunch of in-game currency can campaign and lobby on behalf of the planet that they want to go to sway the in-game citizens vote. So you can actually spend in-game currency also to sway the votes of the non-player citizens. So not only do you have social elements with real-life players, but if you're a player who has a lot of resources, you spend a lot of time, maybe you have a guild of 10 players that you work with and you guys all work together, not only can you leverage your social power, but you can also leverage your resources to convince the ship and its citizens on what planet to go next. And what planet you go to next makes a huge difference in gameplay because it's an entire month of different mods and things that will be active for all players. So it makes a really big difference. The other thing that we do want to do, but it isn't going to be at launch. It'll be after launch. We do want to have ship-wide politics, where for a certain amount of seasons, you might elect a chairperson or president or something along those lines, a treasurer, a director of missions. And these political positions will allow players to make little decisions that will influence gameplay. So you have every player has a daily quest, right? So when you go down to an alien planet, this is something that always a little pet peeve of mine. When you go down to an alien planet, which is something that happens in all kinds of different games, right? When you kill the aliens there, oftentimes you get loot in the form of credits or whatever the loot is. But the thing is, why would you be getting currency from your society when killing aliens from a different society? It makes no sense. So the only way to get currency, so you get materials from planets, but the only way to get currency is from the ship. The ship is the one that prints the currency, right? So you will have a daily mission um, that you can get a certain amount of resources for the ship, and the ship will return you with currency. And that's what you'll use for politics, and you'll use for a ton of different things on the ship. You'll use it for trading with other players, etc. But you'll basically have a daily stipend of credits that you can get from the ship from completing quests. If you have your season pass access, there will be season passes. This is how we will hopefully fund and make sure the game keeps going on and on and on. They're optional, but the season passes will allow you um, to get up to 2 additional quests in a day. So you can have 3 quests per day, which can really ramp up the amount of currency you can generate. But it is a daily quest, so you do have to get on and do it every single day. So it mostly rewards players who are actively playing and enjoying the game. So definitely some big player influenced stuff there. So I appreciate the question. That one's awesome. I'm looking at chat. Do we have any other questions so far? So now is a perfect time. Um, if anybody else has any other questions, I would love to answer them. What time even is it? How are we doing? Not paying attention at all to that.
Well, we have 15 minutes left until the drop in the end of the bounty block. Yeah, that was a great overview. Thanks for answering some questions and going through a little visuals too. It looks like a pretty sweet 2D game you got going on. You says your video says coded from scratch, so that's y'all you, huh? You're the coded from scratch guy.
No, so I do some of it, but
Okay.
mostly as people know, I'm mostly a designer. I've been designing on Wax for a long time with a lot of different games. So all the design is mine, and a little bit of the coding for some of the things that we need. But mostly I do have a team of programmers. It's a very small team, but
Cool.
we do have a little team that is coding and working away. Obviously if we can go viral, right? If we can get all of Ethereum's attention and Polygon's attention, and we can really do a big raise with some of these mints that we're going to do in the future, then maybe the team can expand, and we can build the game faster. But right now, it's just kind of a slow and steady thing. Bills are pretty low, so we don't need a ton to make sure that development keeps on chugging forward. Everything's going really well so far. But we do obviously have bills to pay, so we do need some kind of raises from some of these drops. But we're very flexible in what we can do.
Yeah. But you're kind of a wax veteran too from other projects. You're part of Castles and Farmer Pets. So it's not just noob going into this. You really have put I'm sure put in a lot of thought. There's a lot more to come that you did not release. So this is pretty exciting. It's cool to see an active game on Wax. I know people really are wanting more of those. And I also know that some people really like pixel type games, pixel art, retro style. So
Yeah,
this is awesome.
yeah. I mean, I'm one of the older gamers, right? I'm not super old, but I'm definitely not a spring chicken anymore. I've got four kids that are becoming gamers themselves, so that's making me feel old every single day. But yeah, I mean, I grew up playing a heck of a lot of a Super Nintendo, right? So I played some Nintendo. I played plenty of consoles after it, but Super Nintendo was when I was really became hooked on gaming, and so there's just so many of those old games. Even now, nowadays you can basically download any game you want onto your phone and play it. And I find myself doing that all the time. I mean, you have no idea how many times I've played through Chrono Trigger. Um, Zelda: Link to the Past. Let's see, old strategy games. I don't know if anybody remembers the Romance of the Three Kingdoms series. I like the really, really old ones. That's a pretty awesome old strategy game. It's really, really fun. If you haven't played that one, I mean, you can download emulators for the Super Nintendo and play it. I definitely recommend it. It's quite a bit of fun. Um, I used to play all the old Final Fantasy games, right? I mean, old school Final Fantasy games they had the best stories. They had some fantastic stories, but of course, I am biased with nostalgia. But yeah, so I mean that's a lot of those things heavily inspired this game. Though a big difference, right? Most of those games were turn-based. There wasn't a lot of real active gameplay in some of those older RPGs, at least. I mean, Zelda: Link to the Past being one of the big exceptions. So I definitely wanted this to be very very active gameplay. I really like. Um, a lot of inspiration drawn from like the Diablo series, Path of Exile, games like that where you fight and you gather loot and you do a lot of crafting, and you have a lot of control of your gameplay. And there is a little bit of inspiration drawn from another somewhat retro graphics game, though it's still a 3D game, so it's not exactly the same. But I don't know if anybody ever played Albion Online. I know it's still a fairly popular MMO, but all of the abilities in that game are based on the equipment that you wear. And so that's something that this game heavily inspires also. And Path of Exile kind of has similar systems, but abilities are definitely based on your equipment, right? So the type of weapon you have dictates the type of abilities. I think Guild Wars is another good example of games that have done it that way. And so that's definitely a big inspiration there. Yeah, I see a comment.
Nice.
Mobile is a good choice. Yeah, I find myself too. I don't have time these days for console gaming. I just don't personally. It just so much time spent developing. But wherever I am, my phone goes with me, and so sometimes I find myself someplace where I'm just twiddling my thumbs and I'd like to play a game, and here I have my phone. So that's kind of the niche that we're looking to fill with Wax. Hey, do you have a phone? Of course you've got a phone. Do you have some free time while you're on the bus, or when you're at work and your boss isn't looking? You've got 5 to 10 minutes to jump in and do a mission. Well, here we go. We got the game for you. It's supposed to be quick gameplay sessions. I don't know if I've mentioned. I don't think I mentioned that yet. Missions are intended to take between 5 and 15 minutes at most. So it should be quick gameplay sessions. So if you don't have a lot of time, if you're busy like me and you don't have hours and hours and hours to sit down and play all at once, this game should be very accommodating. Of course, we don't intend to have any artificial limiters. So there isn't going to be like an energy system, like you can only do 5 missions per day and then you need to recharge for 6 hours. Like some mobile games are doing these days, we don't have anything like that. So if you do have hours and hours to sit down and play, then you are most welcome to just take your hours and hours and sit down and play. There's nothing that's going to stop you. There is a repair. I own it. There is a repair system in the game. So your gear will take wear and tear, especially if you get knocked out. Um, Something to know, I don't think I mentioned yet, is the game is semi-hardcore. So it isn't roguelike in that you die and you lose progress. So it isn't like that. Um, but if you go on a mission and you die, you are returned to the ship. So you don't actually die, right? So the ship is tracking you um, with essentially a beam out, and when you reach critical, the ship beams you out. The downside is that the ship is just locked to you. Anything you've looted during the mission, you will not take with you if you get knocked out, essentially. So you won't be able to have progress if you can't complete your mission. So it's going to be important that you tackle missions that you can complete and that you don't just fight willy-nilly and not pay attention to enemies trying to kill you. Because if they succeed in reaching health critical, you're going to be ejected back to the ship. So that's something for that it puts some gravity to the things that you need to do, and hopefully it'll be a heck of a lot of fun. And not punishing, not too punishing because you don't lose anything that you brought with you, but you will take a little durability damage to your gear when you're ejected. So you will have that to deal with every so often.
Nice. Any other questions? Throw them in now. Now is the time. We're
Yeah,
about nine minutes out from the end of the bounty block. Make sure to also join that. And we'll also have our map piece drop. This one is going to be from Pixtalgia, another retro style pixel game. Cool. And yeah, you bring up nostalgia. That's kind of what I think most people, gamers, feel when they play these pixel type games, these 2D scrollers or this top view. Uh, yeah, if you played the original Nintendo back in the day or Sega or something, there's probably a number of games similar to that, and that's exactly what it kind of takes you back to. That's awesome. I love seeing independent creators make those things too now.
yeah,
You don't need a big company to do that. It's awesome.
yeah. It is really nice. I mean, I have been at least in my experience, right? While we give people time to ask some questions or throw out some feedback or anything like that, um, I have always been the kind of person that prioritizes entertaining gameplay over graphics. So there have been so many major console releases that have come out that look amazing, but when it gets down to it, the gameplay is stale. Like you can only take your rifle and shoot so many aliens in the exact same way before you're like, what am I even doing? And so for me, I very much prefer the gameplay that is a little more dynamic. Um, and graphics are no issue. I know it's not. I'm not in the maybe even in the majority there, but I really appreciate the ability that we have that we can make a game like this, and there are still people that appreciate this style where gameplay is the first focus, and the graphics, we don't have a huge budget that we can spend on massive amounts of 3D art and all these different things. That adds a lot of expense. So we keep the budget low and we just focus on delivering something that hopefully will be a lot of fun. That's our primary goal. I actually had a little something I was gonna show off, or was gonna explain. That reminds me of that.
Yeah, I
Um,
think most people here feel the same. If the game is good in the things what you're doing in it, they don't care about the graphics. Like I say, the 2D-ness, the pixelness of it, which is very low graphics. That's what brings that nostalgia of back in Nintendo days. So it's like people kind of embrace that now, so long as the game is good.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I'm happy about that. I'm glad that that works out. The only other thing that I haven't mentioned yet, I wanted to make sure that I mentioned, um, is that the P2E, right? Play to earn, that terrible concept. I did want to mention it, so because there's certainly somebody's going to ask at some point, like, is this game intended to be play to earn? And the answer is absolutely no. It's not intended that way. It's not something that we focus on. If you know me at all, you know that I come from a background in accounting, and so when I build a game, I'm going to build it with a very good economic design. So everything has its place and everything has its purpose. And so from that standpoint, there may be assets that you have that another player wants. And so there is an opportunity for you to, trade assets or sell assets, things like that. Um, but the game isn't going to have its own token. It's just going to have an in-game currency. It's not. We're not trying to make the game into something that people play primarily for the purposes of getting something back. Rather, we focus on very high replay value, very new and frequent changes and challenges, mostly through the planetary systems, the seasons, and then of course just fun, just pure fun is our primary goal. And of course, asset ownership is a big part of it. That's just a part of all blockchain. In our experience, we just love that everyone can own their own assets. So of course, if you want to play and you want to sell your assets and potentially make some money from that, that's up to you. But that's not something that we are going to design the game around, right? The game is going to be about gameplay and fun, and what makes sense for the game. And then what you do with the assets is, we believe should always just be up to you.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up and explaining it. Yeah, a lot of people, I know exactly. You said it's going to come up. Yeah, some people really want to try to go for the play to earns. Other people are trying to avoid them and are looking for the fun games. So this is the latter, and yeah, that's great. I think it's great. It's still Web3. It's still NFTs. So you're still able to use the market. It's just the fact that you don't have a token. I think it still works in a game. It's all about how you do it and how you set it up.
Yeah.
Uh, awesome. So we have 2 minutes, 3 minutes until drop time and the end of the bounty block. So last call to get into the bounty block. Right here it is for a common pin. And if we go to the schedule thing here, we have a drop link there too. And I'm going to also post that in.
Oh, just
So
for
we could,
everybody, since we're almost out of time, maybe I should post this link too in Twitch. So we do have our own. We have a bounty block up
yeah,
for a
go
founders
for it.
token, or actually maybe a couple. Um, there is a bounty block contest going on that ends on Monday, and yeah, I'll share that. Copy link.
And you're also giving a swag item to everybody, which is
Yes,
cool.
yeah, we're
So
giving that puzzle
get,
box, that puzzle piece box to everybody, so everybody will get that. And if you, I just posted a link in Twitch. If you want to jump in and participate in this one, you have a chance to get a founder's badge for free, which will be awesome. Um, and there's whitelist opportunities and everything for that. For everybody who doesn't win, you can grab one on Tuesday.
awesome. There you go, guys. Pop that into another browser. And the drop is live. So let's go ahead and click the button, mash the button, get five or more map pieces or whatever you want. Yeah. And now we see here we're on piece number 4. trekking our way through the treasure map. This one was done by Pixtaljoax. Uh, any last questions before we head out? We'll be here for 5 more minutes still. 5 more minutes. We're just gonna chill and watch this drop. I'm gonna pull the winners right now from the bounty block and announce them. And then in 5 minutes, we'll head over to Axilla next. Axilla's booth, who is in, I believe, Nouveau Hall.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, I know there was a lot of chat that I was ignoring at first. I apologize. So make sure to
Oh,
let me
read
know
that
if
one
there's any.
from Ving Arctic Wolf. I'd like to see how scalable you can make the game. Manage to do an open world part. That would be insanely good, like a 2D metaverse action going on.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. So the open world, we do have designs for the open world part. That's something that will be post launch. But the open world part would actually be the player's ability to walk around in the ship itself. You walk around in the ship, maybe even be able to invite people into your personal quarters that you can expand and decorate the way that you want. You could maybe even walk around and trade with people directly. That would be really, really cool. It's something that we have in the design, but implementation and things, right? We'll have to see how that works out. I would really like to do it. Um, we'll just have to see how difficult it is to scale that up, and it'll probably have to be instanced, right? So only a certain amount of players will be able to be in each instance at once. But it would make the game feel very lived in. You wouldn't have to party up with somebody in advance. You just go out to the kind of the ship common area, or one of multiple common areas like the marketplace or the lounge and different things like that. Things that you can do and walk around on the ship and just experience other players who are playing at the same time. That would be really fun. It is something that we absolutely hope we can pull off too. We're just gonna have to see how it goes. Right now the gameplay and the missions are obviously the first priority. But that's definitely something that we would like to do too, because that would be so much fun. It'd be especially fun when you think about adding the political elements and things like that. You've got the chairperson of the ship. You can go in their office and find them in there doing something. And maybe that player has to go into that public office space in order to do some of the tasks that their office requires. And other players can kind of barge in and things like that. That might be fun. I don't know. I think it would be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Awesome. Where's the best place to keep in touch with you? You got the Discord? Is that best?
So
And the Twitter?
Discord and Twitter are both very active. So if you tag us on Twitter, um, Twitter is at SSB Game, Starship Beyond SSB. Um, at SSB Game is our Twitter, or I guess it's called X now. So that's our X, which still sounds a little bit weird, but whatever. That's a great place to reach out, or Discord is definitely good. You can even, our webpage, we have a Discord widget on our webpage that you can chat straight into our general chat with the Discord widget. So if you just want to
Oh,
jump in and ask a quick question, you can throw a question in there and come back later and scroll up and find the answer. But of course, yeah, Discord and Twitter or X, those are the best two places to keep in touch.
excellent. There you go. Is there any kind of dates or anything for the next cool thing that's coming to it?
So demo drop August 1st, and you will need a founder badge in order to access the very first, not totally open but closed alpha drop of the gameplay. You will need a founder's badge. You can get a founder's badge on Tuesday, but it is whitelist only. It will not be public at any point. Whitelist only. But it's easy to get on the whitelist right now. Join our Discord, connect with Honeycomb, probably something you've done already a million times. /verify with Honeycomb, and you're good. You'll be in the
Nice.
whitelist. Simple as that.
All right. So if you're interested, go ahead and jump in and do that, or at least make yourself a reminder to. All right. Well, thank you very much for this AMA stream. This was awesome. Thank you for streaming too. I think it's cool to see to raid into different streams, do a raid train. I think this is nice.
I appreciate it.
And we learned a bit about the game. We got a few visuals. You definitely answered questions. Keep up if you can in their links if you're interested. And our next stop will be Axilla's booth over at Nouveau Hall. So that it won't actually start for 10 minutes. So if you wanted to take a little break and meet there, that's what we'll be doing next. And I'm going to stream it so you can raid right into me if you want. I'm going to go ahead and go live right now. There it is. So whenever you want, you can raid to me. And we'll be heading over there. So I'm going to teleport right over there. Everybody else can do the same, or you can just meet there in 10 minutes.